Hi, my name is Suzanne Bush, and this is my discourse analysis project for my special topics class. My project is over head movement and how it's used in turn taking. The outline of this project is purpose, definitions, what is turn taking, setup, structure of study, my hypothesis, observations, which factors are we looking at, data, what did we see, drawbacks, conclusion, what did this study show, and relevance, so what? The purpose of this project is to further analyze the use of head movement to signal turn-taking in a conversation, to determine what other factors influence the use of head movement in turn-taking, and to determine how this information is applicable to the field of ASL interpreting. Definitions related to this study. Discourse, conversation analysis is an approach to the study of social interaction embracing both verbal and nonverbal conduct in situations of everyday life. Turn-taking is a set of practices by which a conversation is done in and through turns. For the purpose of this study, we will refer to a change in participants as one turn, with the exception of back-channeling and expressive reaction. Conversational signals, or features, are the elements that make up how something is said, such as pacing, pausing, intonation, pitch, eye gaze, and head movement. Conversational devices, or functions, are a combination of signals that make up ways of communicating our intentions. Devices do the work of conversation by creating turns, relating ideas, asking questions, showing interest, or seeking help. Conversational style is composed of conversational signals, which make up the conversational devices we use to do the work of participating in a conversation, such as asking questions or taking turns. The setup. For this project, I observed 3 conversations. The first one involving 2 females, the second one involving 2 males, and the third one 1 female and 1 male. All conversations are in spoken English. My hypothesis is that head movement can be categorized as having 2 main purposes: an advance, forward movements meant to take or hold the floor, or a retreat, backward movements meant to disconnect or relinquish the floor. I also believe that females use head movement as a turn-taking device more frequently than males. Observations. This is what we'll be looking for. In spoken English, how does direction of head movement affect meaning? Head movement portray various functions. Use of head movement vary between genders. And frequency of head movement, fast versus slow, affect meaning. Conversation number 1. This is between 2 different females. The first one is age 27, Caucasian Hispanic, lower middle class, with some college education. Female number 2 is age 20, Caucasian, also from lower middle class. Their relationship is they grew up living across the street from each other in Houston, Texas, and although not related as blood, these women claim each other as sisters. The power dynamic. Female number 1 is older and has always looked out for female number 2 and is a predominant female role model in female number 2's life. The place. Female number 2's bedroom in her apartment in San Marcos, Texas.
Last night we got tickets to Ripley's. When we went to New York last time, we didn't go to Ripley's because it was like $35 a person to get in. We got stuff for $15. So, what I was gonna say is, so like, how do you want the weekend to like plan out? I mean, like, do you want us to like kind of pretty much kind of have it almost mapped out before we go and like, you know, have everything planned and then just stick with that, or do you want to do like spur of the moment and like let's just get there and talk to locals? I kind of want to wing it, just knowing that we're gonna do those couple of things, like that we're gonna gamble somewhere, we're gonna go to that restaurant and that restaurant. Yeah. Otherwise, I kind of want to wing it. Okay. And then, do you want it to be all like you make all the decisions because it's your birthday, or do you want it to be a group affair? So I can go either way. Group affair. Okay. because I hate when you do that thing where it's your birthday and everyone's like, oh, it's your birthday, let's do what you want. And I'm like, no, because someone's gonna hate it, and then they're not gonna say it until they're miserable, and then everyone's miserable. So yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm excited.
Me too. So wait, I know it'll creep up really quick.
What did you notice? The data from conversation number 1. Head movement was used for these functions: taking the floor, relinquishing the floor, responding but remaining off the floor, and remaining in control of the floor. For advance and retreat, quick forward movements were used to take a turn or hold the floor, or advance, while slow backward movements were used to end a turn or relinquish the floor, a retreat. But advances and retreats can be broken up based on emotion or conversational style. Size and frequency of head movement vary between small and large motions, quick and slow pace. Both positively correspond with emotion, animation, and interest. So the more interest, and the more animation, the more emotion, then the quicker the head movements and the larger the movements. The number of turns taken in a 3-minute time period was 17. And it's important to realize that not every advancing movement is an attempt to take the floor, nor is every retreat an intention of ending a turn. Head movement is used to signal many other functions such as emotion, expressive reaction, and interest, whether it be in the topic, the participant, etc. Conversation number 2. Male number 1 and male number 2. Male number 1 is age 34, Caucasian, middle class, with a college degree. Male number 2 is age 20, Caucasian, middle class, with a bachelor and master's degrees. Their relationship, they've been close friends of 6 years. The power dynamic, male number 1 is older and lives in the residence of filming. The place is male number 1's apartment or living room.
You know what I'm doing Thursday night that you and anyone else who happens to be listening, like through the walls, like the neighbors or something, if they're interested, is this like social bike ride that they have in Austin. My buddy.
Midnight moonlight ride?
Maybe I'll have to ask him specifics. It's on Thursday night. He said it's like the funnest thing he's ever doing. It's like a totally Austin-y social bike ride type thing. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, but these people are riding like road bikes, man.
No, it's this fun social thing. Did you not hear me say fun and social? Why didn't those words process when I said it?
Even for fun and social, it's a road bike crew. Road bikes.
You just think you know everything, so I'm saying.
I bet it's 99% road bikes.
So what if it is? If it's a casual stroll, if they're going 5 miles an hour, so what if it's a mountain bike? It's anything that just makes more of a workout.
Yeah, it's like you're riding in a Hummer full of
It's a social bike ride. It's not a 10K.
Well, I hear you.
Open your mind up and receive this idea and embrace it.
Information that I would like to
And if anyone can hear through the walls, they should also know that they are invited, and that there's extra bikes, and to not be afraid, and that the kung fu is strong.
There's always fear. Whenever you're riding.
I hear the dogs tapping again.
That bike with all the green dots on it there, that'll protect you from a lot of invisibility issues.
The green dots?
Yeah, it has like reflective tape.
Just little stickers. I should throw some on my bike.
Yeah, and like there's a couple of strips there too, long ones.
Yeah.
And they're all like hyper reflective, like glow in the dark type shoes.
Do you want to take turns singing to each other?
No.
Sure.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to just go ahead and insist that you sing a little bit.
What if I show you an awesome picture of this trip that I went on?
What did you notice? The data from conversation number 2. Head movement was used for these functions: taking the floor, holding the floor, and relinquishing the floor. But head movement was used less for these functions compared to the number of turns than women. Categorized by advance and retreat. Advances are characterized by forward and upward movements, while retreats make use of downward-backward movements, similar to that used by the women. Size of head movement. Small range of motion, compared to the females in the study. Frequency of head movements was slower than that of females, however the males spoke at a slower rate, despite taking turns more often in 3 minutes than the females. The number of turns taken was 35, not counting one-word responses, and that was in 3 minutes. The males tend to use less obvious head movements and rely more heavily on volume, intonation, and hand gestures to control turn taking, compared to the females in this study. It makes sense that males might rely more on sound for turn taking than sight, based on the research that males make eye contact less often than women and tend to sit side by side. Although these males are almost facing each other, their eye contact was sporadic. Similar to what I've observed, they make eye contact 1 to 3 times during a turn, depending on the length of the turn. Conversation number 3. Male number 1 and female number 3. Male number 1 is age 34, Caucasian, middle class with a college degree. Female number 3 is age 22, Caucasian, middle class with some college. Their relationship is that they are close friends of 4 years. Male number 1 is older and lives in the residence of filming, giving him a little bit more power, and the place is his apartment living room.
Why do I have to pay you? How many times have I watched your dog for you? Like, you never paid me.
I've done things like clean.
Yeah.
Or return.
You like the dishes. That's about all the cleaning you've ever done.
Well,
You still have to shampoo the backseat of the truck so that time your dog pees. I might be in the hospital. Like, it's still smelling like pee in there. It's your fault.
yeah, I want to stop.
Really? Everyone's bringing their dog, and I'm just like, I don't want to have to go to dog camp, and I don't want to have to really deal with their while I'm trying to like climb up over the top of big rocks and stuff. I'll be honest. And if it rains, I have a wet dog, and we're all supposed to be sharing tents. I'm just not even excited about this trip at all.
Where are you going?
I don't know.
It's your birthday.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do.
Well, it's like,
Everyone's already excited to go.
yeah.
You were excited, weren't you now? You're the one who planned it.
I didn't really plan it. It was like Sean and I, we were planning a camping trip.
He was like, we should do it for your birthday. You were like, we should do it for my birthday.
It just happened to pick those weekends, and it happened to be my birthday. And I was like, oh yeah, it's my birthday weekend. He's like, oh, it's your birthday. And now, like, a bunch of people I don't even know.
What did you notice? The data for conversation number 3. Head movement is used for these functions: taking the floor, holding the floor, and relinquishing the floor. Female number 3 moves her head in these directions: in, out, up, and down. The up and outward movements correspond with an advance, and in and downward movements correspond with retreat. Female number 3 makes movements that are wider than male number 1, but similar in size to head movements of females number 1 and number 2. Male number 1 uses the same size head movements as he did with male number 2. Male number 1 used small, quick head movements or made long, slow nods. The number of turns taken was 40 in 3 minutes. Female number 3 uses fewer up and down head movements in comparison to females number 1 and 2, and makes more in and out motions with her head and neck. Male number 1 uses little head movement. Again, he mainly relies on pitch, volume, and rate of speech for turn taking. The drawbacks to this study. Head movement is used to signal many other functions such as emotion, expressive reaction, and interest, whether it be in the topic, the participant, etc. Plus, the sample size is too small to make generalizations across an entire gender category. Movement may also be altered if someone is adjusting clothes, body position, hair, etc. The participant is simultaneously performing another activity. Head movement is restricted, as if they are resting on something flat. The eyes are focused on a computer screen. Participant is experiencing strong emotion. The comfort level is altered. They have an itch, it's too cold, whatever. And depending on rate of speech, although no precise correlation was found. Conclusion. Overall, we can categorize 3 main functions: taking a turn, holding a floor, and ending a turn. Whereas taking a turn and holding the floor both correspond with advance movements, and ending a turn corresponds with a retreat. Through all 3 videos, participants had these things in common. For taking a turn, head and neck jut, head tilt back with the chin up, and short, quick nodding. To hold the floor, they used chin up, head and neck extended forward, head nods, shakes, and sways, or holding the head in the last position. Ending a turn, they used chin down, the head pulled in, the head movement slows, or head movement ceases. So did this confirm or disprove my hypothesis? Well, yes, it confirmed it. Head movement can be divided into categories based on the purposes of advance and retreat. However, there's a difference between conversational advance and retreat and emotional advance and retreat. Head and body movement helps show advance and retreat, but head movement alone does not distinguish between conversational and emotional advance and retreat. Other features must be taken into consideration. Based on a comparison of women and men, women tend to use the head movement as a turn-taking device more often than men in this study. Movement size and frequency had a positive correlation with emotion, animation, and interest, meaning that an increase in one corresponded with an increase in the other, and a decrease in one corresponded with a decrease in the other. In general, the person with the floor uses more head movements, although it may be for functions other than turn-taking, but as a whole they make up a turn, than those who do not have the floor. So what? What's the relevance to ASL interpreting? Well, head movement can help us navigate a conversation and understand how and when to manage turns. For example, knowing the difference between a pause and the end of a turn. This would depend on the head position. Being aware of differences in the use of head movements between individuals allows us to set aside our expectations of how someone will take the floor and enable us to adapt to differences in conversational style. You might consider using more head movements to gain a turn among females, or using other features such as tone of voice to gain a turn among males. This study enables us to see the many different uses of head movement and shows that there is not always a clear-cut meaning for any feature, as they often occur simultaneously with other features or serve various functions. Here's a quote from Deborah Tannen's "That's Not What I Meant." Sometimes, strains in a conversation reflect real differences between people. They are angry at each other. They really are at cross purposes. But sometimes strains and kinks develop when there really are no basic differences of opinion, when everyone is sincerely trying to get along. This is the type of miscommunication that drives people crazy, and it is usually caused by differences in conversational style. Thank you for watching.